All right, so tonight we're joined by John from Bulleen. He's the senior women's coach there in the NPLW, and we're going to learn a little bit about him and see how Bulleen are going. John, to start us off, can you just give us a background on yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. First, I'll just talk about where I've been and what I've accomplished so far.
Yep.
This is my 20th year of coaching. So I started when I was 17 years, just in community level.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, in 2010 to 2012, I worked in Melbourne Victory as assistant coach and conditioning coach. And during the winter time with the NTC competition, the senior men's that played against the Victorian Premier League. Then I did my license in 2013. Then an opportunity came up to go to U.A.E. with Ajman FC as under 17 head coach, which I took.
Yep.
That was a really important step for me because I thought, okay, why not take this opportunity? And then the following year, I got a position with Al Nasr in Dubai, in U.A.E, as head of performance and methodology, where I worked with our technical director at the time, Marcel Lucasen, who's now at Arsenal Football Club in a very similar role. And then I came back in 2016 to Australia and got a phone call from Rene Mullenstein to go to Kerala Blasters in India as head of performance with the first team, which was, a very challenging time, but one that I wouldn't take. I would definitely, I wouldn't take that, lightly. It was a fantastic opportunity to be called up and to go there with him and to work with someone at that class. Then since then, I've come back to Australia and then working with Dandenong Thunder in the NPL, and just recently the WNPL head coach with FC Bulleen, which I'm currently in that position. So, there's a bit that I've done, but at the same time, for me, it's about going outside your comfort zone.
Yep. And
women's football is something that I've always been interested in to make change. And also as a coach, it's always good to put yourself in areas that you've never been before. So that's why I've decided, this year to go for that position and to make a change, in this league as well.
Yep. You mentioned that you've been around the block and you've experienced quite a lot of different things in football overseas, here in Australia. You must have faced quite a few challenges. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, we talk about culture all the time, and going to U.A.E and seeing that the religious beliefs are slightly different to what you're used to.
Yep.
A big part of that was the first time that we had a halftime team talk, and I saw all the players just walk off, and I was like, "What are they doing? They're walking off." And they said, "Coach, we have to go pray." And I said, "Oh, okay, I wasn't ready for this." So I had to find out when they go pray, for how long they pray. And then we just made sure that we gave them the allocated time where everyone went and prayed together.
Yep.
Because a lot of the times the players would just go individually and just go pray in different sections or, different areas. So from my point of view, it was more to understand when they pray and to make sure that they all go together and come back together, so then we can also do what we love and what we're there for. And that's, to make sure that we make use of the halftime team talk, whether it's a 5-minute quick chat, and then we're out on the pitch again. So it's understanding what is being done previously and what culture or religious beliefs that people have and how you can accommodate to that. Because we're a foreigner going into a foreign country, we have to understand them more rather than they understand us.
Yep.
So that's a very important aspect that I say to people. Whether you're going to a new team, it's always understanding how things have worked previously and how you want to put your spill on it as well.
And I know that you were involved coaching in India. Was there a similar sort of thing that happened in the U.A.E that translated over to India?
Yeah, look, India's a very interesting place because it's more so with social media, and that's something that you don't really get told about too much. In terms of man management, social media, I know that they cover that more in the pro license,
Okay.
and I think they're slowly starting to cover that in the A license now.
Yeah.
But it's one area that you've got to be very careful in terms of how you come across or how you explain to individuals, because things that we believe might not be hurtful in a different way, or how you say that, it could be hurtful for others. So you have to understand, first of all, what actually drives the Indian players, and then how you can actually get the best out of those Indian players. And they might have some suggestions for yourself, and you come out with your philosophy and show them, okay, this is what we're looking at doing. But I think the most important is just actually understanding the individuals themselves, whether they're from India, whether they're from Eastern Europe, which we had players like that, or whether they were ex-professional, like at top levels, like Dimitar Berbatov or Wes Brown. It's very important to understand where they've all come from. And the number one example that I used to everyone was Dimitar Berbatov said to me the first time I met him, he goes, "I don't do any gym." And I said to him, "What do you mean you don't do any gym?" And he goes, "I don't do any gym whatsoever." Because in his mind, he thought lifting heavy weights, he thought, he's going to put me on the bench press and all these kind of things. And basically what I did, I set up the stations how I wanted them out on the pitch with weights.
Yes.
And it was all about movement patterns and all about functional training. And he saw this. He said, "No, this is what I like." So sometimes there's a perception, and that's where we've got to be very careful. So the way in which you get your message across to people is very, very important. And especially coming from an Australian culture into an Indian culture or Eastern European culture, you always have to be a bit more, your communication needs to be a bit more clear as such.
And speaking of culture, what do you look for in your players?
So for me, I mean, it's very important that you have a work ethic. Work ethic, good characters. Obviously, we can talk about technical ability. I think, from my point of view, work ethic is number one, because there's some players that are very technically proficient, but the work ethic isn't there, and then that filters to the other players. For me, work ethic is always there because you can always improve yourself moving forward. So it's really important that you drive this to training. The trainings are always at high intensity. And also that the older players are always guiding the younger players coming through with that work ethic. And for players that don't have that work ethic, there's always consequences in terms of whether they make the team or not make the team. So it's very important that you've got a great work ethic, and the same for my coaching staff as well. So I don't micromanage. I make sure that I give responsibility to coaches, but at the same time, I expect high level of work ethic when it comes to coaching and attention to detail.
And then last question to finish the night off.
Yep.
What's your outlook for the season and the future ahead for Bulleen?
Yep. So look, from last season, there's been a lot of changes. Obviously, a new coach with myself coming in, and we've had quite a few players have moved on for various reasons. A couple have retired. One of our players has gone to a Swedish professional team in Kayla Morrison. and we've had 3 girls that have gone to the emerging Victoria team. So it's a completely different setup in terms of how we're coming into this. But in saying that, we have kept a lot of the girls from last year. Yep. Some were bench players last year, and they've got a big opportunity to prove themselves this year. So, and we have brought in some girls from other clubs as well. Not many, but enough to get our core group together. Our role is to get the best out of them. So understand each individual player. Yep. And we do that through personality profiles, which is really important. So how we actually speak to certain individuals, or how we get the best out of those individuals. And from a coaching perspective, we want to make the finals. From the finals onwards, that's something that we can address when we get there. Our aim is to make the finals to start off with. Yep. It's easy to say, yeah, we want to win it and we want to do this, but a lot of the other clubs have also recruited really well. Yes. And obviously Calder have been very high in not only recruitment this year, but they've been a very competitive group for the last 4 years. So our role is to get into finals and just to get the best out of ourselves, with the work ethic, making sure that we've got an open and honest communication between our team, players and staff, and also trying to develop some girls throughout the year from the under-19s into the first team. So that's really important for us. And it's not about this 1 year. It's about, we're in a building process at the moment, and we're trying to build that for years to come. So it's a transitional process with all those factors, but our aim is to get into the finals football. That's number one.
Brilliant. Something that I'm really keen to follow along and see how that goes, and see how yourself and your team at Bulleen end up building the team.
Thank you very much, Rohit. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us.
No worries, thanks.